Hello, welcome to Only in Illinois, your weekly recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich, and the debates at the presidential level are over, but the debates are continuing within Illinois about the Trump factor. It's never been anything like this, has there, Matt, that you can recall?
The big speculation has been that having Donald Trump at the top of the ballot is going to be very bad for Republicans in Illinois, because that's generally the way things have gone. In presidential years in Illinois, we're a blue state. You get a big bump in turnout. That bump tends to be more Democrats because we have so many more of them here, therefore hurts the Republicans on down the ticket. And I think that's been sort of the common wisdom on this, but the Trump factor gets a little more tricky than that.
Especially when you head south from the north end of the state.
That is exactly right.
So in particular, it's become a problem for U.S. Rep. Rodney Davis. Talk about that a little bit and what's going on in some of the central Illinois and downstate southern Illinois communities.
Rodney Davis is the congressman whose district is in central and southern Illinois. And Rodney Davis last summer actually signed on to be Donald Trump's agriculture advisor, or on his agriculture advisory staff. So he was all in for Trump. And then when the infamous locker room talk tape came out a few weeks ago, Rodney Davis very quickly took to Facebook and disavowed Donald Trump, said he could not support a candidate who was saying things like that. And if you look at the comments on that particular post, he just got lambasted by as he was a turncoat.
Turncoat, traitor, you're done. There's more than 400 comments on there.
Now, there are some supporting him. He does have some support for what he did, but the vast majority are very negative about what he did and that he had turned against the Republican candidate. Now, that kind of shows that depending on where you're at in Illinois, vocally supporting or vocally not supporting Donald Trump can have very different political implications.
Which kind of helps explain why Governor Rauner has been so disciplined and careful not to say anything one way or the other too much.
And that's something that we've talked about here before. Back in March, Governor Rauner said, "I will support the nominee." Well, at the time, nobody really thought that Donald Trump would end up being the nominee. Then when he became the nominee, that became a problem, as we noted last week. There's this ad campaign out now that's trying to link him to Trump. And the goal is to attach Donald Trump to Bruce Rauner, and anybody who's getting help from Bruce Rauner is then attached to Donald Trump. Well, it doesn't always work in a 100% negative way. And in the district that I live in, which is the 99th in Springfield, and in the district that's immediately neighboring that to the south, it's a bit of a problem. And we saw this, the State Journal Register held a candidate forum for the state rep candidates a few weeks back. And one of the questions to the Republicans was, are you going to vote for Donald Trump? This was a hard one for them to answer. And one thing that struck me was that one of the candidates, Avery Born, said that she was going to vote for the nominee. She didn't say Donald Trump's name. Sarah Wojcicki-Jimenez, who is also a Republican incumbent, she was, like Avery Born, was appointed to her office to fill in by Bruce Rauner, said that she wasn't going to make her decision until November 8th. And she gave what I thought was probably the best non-answer on this question that you can give. Here's a quick sample from that forum.
The Republican Party's nominee, Donald Trump, has said some very disgusting and repulsive things of late, and it's a very difficult thing for me, being a victim of stalking and sexual assault in my career. And so I think what's proving to be a very difficult choice for both parties' candidates, but I plan to make up my mind on November 8th.
That's a pretty diplomatic answer, I thought. But it does illustrate that a lot of the candidates in downstate Illinois, the Republicans, have to be very careful. They don't want to come off as being anti-Trump, because then you're labeled as part of the Republican establishment.
Right.
That
No longer a good thing to be part of the establishment.
And the Trump voters resent that. But you don't want to align yourself too closely or too vociferously, as Avery Born did. She didn't say the name Donald Trump, but said she'd vote for the candidate. Because you're also afraid that I don't want to be too closely tied to this guy who's made all these statements and then have them coming back with ads who are going to chase away the more moderate voters. So we really don't know how it's going to affect those races. But a lot of these races are very important. You look at, we've mentioned this before, down in Kankakee. It's a
Right.
Democratic incumbent who was elected by only 122 vote majority in 2014, and even 2 years prior, barely squeaked by. So the Republican challenger there could have a shot if she can just get a few more Republican votes out. You know, these are very, very close races,
right?
and they're having a hard time determining, is it better for me to be pro-Trump? Would it be better for me to be more moderate and not be too pro-Trump? Very tough question.
We're used to, it's fascinating to me, for years, the litmus tests in the Republican Party have been around social issues like abortion and gay rights and guns. And now it's become a litmus test about whether you're going to support your party's presidential nominee.
And this the very question of, are you going to vote for him? That's a tough question to answer.
And
I
who would
haven't
ever
seen that
expect you would
happen
even
before.
be asked that question as a candidate for office in your party?
I haven't seen that question asked before, nor have I ever seen it so ambivalently answered by so many different people. But we're going to, less than 3 weeks, we'll find out what the Trump effect was.
We will, and we'll be watching, and we'll talk about it then. That's it for this week's edition. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week on Only in Illinois.